Hello again, everyone. It's great seeing you once again, and thanks for joining us for Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. On this 5th day of February 2021, I'm Dave Percy, meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, again, hazardous weather graphic. We have some lit up areas, not a whole lot, not as much as yesterday, but still the wind chill warning still out for the western and eastern Arctic coast until 6 a.m. Saturday. And looking for wind chills on the western Arctic coast to 70 degrees below zero, and winds 10 to 15 miles an hour, though. And on the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, 75 to 80 below or so. And again, the winds about the same, 10 to 15, or 5 to 15, or 10 to 15 miles an hour. So not so strong on the winds, but the air temperatures, ambient air temperature is so low that any breeze at all puts quite a sting into the air. And otherwise, the yellow areas for the Kobuk Valley, Koyukuk Valley, the greater Ambler-Bettles area, as well as Fort Yukon, Yukon Flats, southeastern Brooks Range, Arctic Village, and into the western Alaska Range there. Denali Park, I believe, is included in that. That's a wind chill advisory, which is out until 6 a.m. Saturday as well. And in the cases there for the interior, looking at wind chills 50 to 60 below for the wind chill advisory there. And out over the St. Lawrence Island area and the Bering Strait coast, winter weather advisory. And that's also out for the southern coast of the Seward Peninsula, Nome to White Mountain, Golovin, as well as eastern Norton Sound area up to the Nulato Hills. Winter weather advisory, snow and blowing snow until midnight tonight. And conditions already improving pretty good there. Winds really coming down. Last hour I looked at Gamble after gusting up to 50 miles an hour earlier today, down to, under 40 miles an hour for the wind gusts there. And visibility is gradually improving, as well as that low center, or the low system that brought the stronger winds and the blowing snow to those areas continues to weaken and will continue to do so tonight into tomorrow. So from there, one more frame. Now satellite image, you can see that elongating front from the weakening low as it moves into the northern Bering Sea across St. Lawrence Island. North of St. Lawrence Island now, so you're kind of in a cull there with the winds coming down, but may pick up again when that low center, if it pulls north of the area there, again more to that westerly flow. But anyway, that front with some clouds spilling into the Cook Inlet area across the Kenai Peninsula, mostly higher type clouds, mid and high level, but there is some light snow with that, all the way up to the western Alaska Range from the Kuskokwim Valley. Let's see, sleet mute picked up about, let me check my cheat sheet here. Let's see, Sparavon had about half an inch of snow, and Sleet Mute also picked up anywhere from a half inch to possibly an inch at the most. So really light snow with that, extending back to Nome, where Nome picked up about an inch of snow in the last 12 hours as well. Otherwise, not much else across, east of the Alaska Range. Anything that fell out of those clouds, Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet, was in the form of flurries and pretty isolated. Otherwise, you can see the Yukon Flats up there looking white and even whiter on the north slope. Temperatures on the north slope there in the minus 40s below zero for the afternoon readings today, coming up from, say, 53 below this morning at Umiat Airfield, and right out the eastern Arctic coast in the minus 40s, minus 40 at 3 p.m. at Dead Horse, or actually at 2 p.m., and 44 below at Umiat Airfield. Otherwise, well below zero, but not quite that far below for the upper Yukon Valley, and more cloudiness kept it milder there as you go down the Yukon River Valley areas there. And for the Bering Sea, not too bad there. Kind of a lack of storminess there for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutian areas. But as that low lifted, scooted up along the coast at 5 a.m. this morning, Cape Romanzoff had a peak wind gust of 70 miles per hour. They're down to about 40 miles an hour now for the winds. In fact, the winds with that whole system coming down as it weakens and pulls up to the north, with winds coming back up, though, that system approaching the central Aleutians next front. Gale force winds to 50 miles an hour now, ADAC, with rain, and that extends back to Shimia. Fox Island's in a break right now, and you can see a fair amount of clouds rolling into the southeast coast, but very little precipitation around. Let's see, Sitka picked up about, 4/100ths of an inch of rain and snow today, water equivalent. Kloak had about 6/100ths of an inch, and that's about it. So really just clouds and not much precip with that. Could be a little bit more off the coast there, but if there is and it moves inland, it won't amount to much. Actually, it'll be more concentrated over the southern panhandle tonight. And let's see, you can see a couple of disturbances coming southward out of the Arctic, and cold northerly flow continuing. A couple of upper level lows, one now pulling into the Northwest Territories, another one poised to move in over the weekend, first of next week, back in over the eastern North Slope, and then drop into the central interior after that for another round of very cold weather, continuing very cold, with the high pressure ridging staying along the west coast, or actually trying to redevelop farther back to the west, but that's in the extended. Anyway, for today, there's that low weakening over St. Lawrence Island, actually not the former front. I just troughed it in. It's so weak now. Some light snow into the western Alaska range. Some of that could have spilled into Kamishak Bay, but quite light. Clear and cold over much of the interior with variable clouds again, higher type into Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula. Scattered snow showers along the North Gulf Coast. Nothing significant, mostly offshore. And again, the light precipitation over the Panhandle, that low off the coast, and then the more organized system out west there. Increasing wind, gale force winds, possibly even storm force winds there for the western Aleutians for tonight maybe, and spreading into the Adak area, and eventually it'll reach Atka, but a break there over the southern Bering Sea into the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and dry for Bristol Bay with high pressure ridging up from the main center south of the Alaska Peninsula. And for tonight, that high pulls northward there, right just southwest of Kodiak Island, the Trinity Islands, for light winds and mostly clear skies, variable clouds. So dry, becoming dry, and light winds southwest coast, Nunivak Island, clearing out over the northern Bering Sea. The low weakens, falls to pieces over the Seward Peninsula, pressure up to 1,026 millibars, but still leftover moisture brings some areas of light snow and snow showers from the central interior back to the Seward Peninsula, maybe into Kotzebue Sound. Lower Yukon Valley, and that front really weakening. You can see it really loses its punch there. Western Aleutians, as actually it kind of splits. That's another front coming up. The original one kind of drops off to the south there. You can see that area of rain south of the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, chance of snow showers. Farther south you go toward Dixon Entrance and the Panhandle will be the better chance. And series of disturbances keep light snow, fog, flurries going eastern Beaufort Sea coast, maybe the North Slope through the weekend. For tomorrow, Saturday, rain, periods of gale force winds. All of the Aleutians under gale force wind warnings, probably dropping off behind the front to something under gale force. But wind coming up for the Pribilofs, but precipitation holding off. And southern Panhandle, still chance of snow showers, or rain and snow showers. The risk of a snow shower on the central coast of the main low, as weak as it is, keeping the scattered snow showers off the coast. Variable clouds, maybe some flurries along the Alaska range. Otherwise, high pressure, cold high pressure dominates the interior into the Kodiak Island, North Gulf Coast area. Flurries, as I mentioned, continue through the weekend for the Arctic coast with really strong high pressure above 31 inches of mercury there on the central Arctic coast. And really drying out with light winds for the Panhandle. Kind of breezy and cold over interior Alaska. Less wind, southern Alaska, but still mostly dry, clear, and cold. And weakening front spreads some moisture to the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians. Another system brings more moisture and an increase in the winds to the western Aleutians. Lows tonight, teens to lower 30s. Quite a range there across the Panhandle. 10 to 15 below Copper River Basin. Single numbers to a little below zero. So sit in the valley, south central Alaska, mid-20s Homer area. And 25 to 50 below northeast interior, especially for the North Slope. And above zero, St. Lawrence Island, upper 20s Pribilofs, lower 30s Aleutians, and upper 20s to mid 30s for the Alaska Peninsula. Highs tomorrow, just under 40 for Kodiak, lower to mid 20s Southern Alaska, mid 30s Kachemak Bay, Homer, Seldovia, and 20 to upper 30s for the Panhandle. And single numbers, Copper River Basin, staying below zero, Tanana Valley, even farther below zero for the eastern interior, Brooks Range, North Slope to the Arctic coast. Single numbers, Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, mid-30s for the Pribilofs, 40s, lower to mid for the Fox Islands to False Pass, and Sitkinak 42. Lows the following morning, Sunday morning, 6 there, Haines call it, and lower to mid-20s, southern southeast coast, 20 to 25 below Copper River Basin, back below zero in the Susitna Valley, near zero to a little below for the Kenai Peninsula, and 25 to 45 below up over the northern interior, lower 30s out west, and highs, lower 20s northern Panhandle, lower 30s south, below zero Copper River Basin, teens south central Alaska, and below zero north of the Alaska Range to the Arctic coast, and just above zero St. Lawrence Island, near 40 for areas of the eastern Aleutians, lower to mid-40s for the Alaska Peninsula.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to flying weather, we've got some IFR up along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast and marginal VFR back to about Point Barrel. Otherwise, VFR across the Brooks Range and then picking up the marginal VFR from there southward. A little bit farther south there in the mountains south of the Yukon Flats, marginal VFR on down in toward the North Gulf Coast Range into the Matanuska Valley. But Susitna Valley, for the most part, VFR, as well as Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, and the Cordova area, Yakutat, marginal VFR on down the southeast coast to the zone of IFR along the north coast, and the band of IFR with the next system out over the Aleutians, pushing to Adak and into the southwest Bering, and the big area of VFR there for the northern Bering Sea, Pribilofs, eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, part of western Bristol Bay, Nunivak Island, and onto the southwest coast. Areas of IFR, western Alaska Range, Kuskokwim Valley, and up over the central interior. And moving on to the afternoon for Saturday, we've got, there we go, still IFR, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, marginal VFR more extensive and covering all of the north slope and the remainder of the Arctic coast, but still along and south of the Brooks Range VFR, Kobuk, Koyukuk, Upper Yukon Valley, Northwest Coast, Noatak Valley, but most of the Seward Peninsula marginal down across Norton Sound, St. Lawrence Island. IFR, Northwestern Alaska Range, Denali Park, up in toward Tanana, Fairbanks, or I'm sorry, Nenana, Fairbanks, Tanana marginal, and then eastward there across the 40-mile country and marginal VFR Copper River Basin and the southern three-quarters of the southeast coast, marginal. IFR now on Alaska Island, the western Alaska Peninsula, St. George, St. Paul, and marginal back to the west. And for the morning, Sunday, IFR again, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, a little farther to the east, though, with VFR pushing to about Aliktok there on the Arctic coast, and then good VFR back to the west, Chukchi Sea, through the Bering Strait, VFR St. Lawrence Island. Only marginal VFR right along the southwest coast there, Cape Newenham up to maybe Tuksuk Bay. IFR approaching Nunivak Island, IFR for the Pribilofs, eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, narrow swath of VFR behind that zone, otherwise marginal for the remainder of the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, southern Alaska, Kodiak Island, everywhere south of the Alaska Range VFR except for Yakutat and the southern Panhandle. And then for the afternoon, Sunday, again, IFR persisting, eastern Beaufort Sea coast. That continued disturbances dropping southward out of the Arctic there, keeping that in place more or less through Sunday. Otherwise, VFR interior, got marginal VFR now up to St. Lawrence Island and along the southwest coast, Bristol Bay, a little bit inland too, with IFR right up along the coast, Nunivak Island, Unalaska Island, Alaska Peninsula, and then VFR, central Aleutians, more IFR farther to the west. Otherwise, mostly VFR, southeast coast, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. Passes Anatuvik, possible marginal VFR times in the northern entrance, otherwise VFR. Same goes for Adigan and Lake Clark and Merrill. Marginal VFR, lowest conditions will be on the western approaches, probably VFR east entrance on out, and then rainy IFR in the western entrance, otherwise marginal. Windy, marginal VFR at the VFR south side, and Isabel occasionally marginal. Mintesta, marginal VFR. Tanita, marginal VFR, but Portage, VFR. And Chilcoot and White, marginal VFR to start, becoming VFR for probably a good portion of the day through the afternoon into evening. Freezing level at the surface, North Gulf Coast, Shelikof Strait, north of the Pribilofs, on down the Panhandle, 2,000 feet now. The whole mess of the freezing level lines are suppressed to the south a little bit now, but 2,000 feet up into the southeast Bering, eastern Aleutians, and that getting nudged up there by that system coming in with some icing of areas of considerable moderate for the Alaska Peninsula. Spotty stuff, Tanana Valley, maybe some light icing possible the eastern Arctic coast and the southern three-quarters of the Panhandle, mixed icing, light. And northwest jet, 95 to 120 knots, southwest interior across Cook Inlet and the Gulf of Alaska. 9,000 feet, 50 to 55 knot winds there, eastern Bering Sea, northwest 50 across the western Alaska Range, 55 knots eastern interior, and 70 knot winds there coming into the Bering Sea. And let me back up a little quick there with a button pushing. 55 knots for the western Aleutians, but pretty light over the interior there, and same for the Panhandle. Now turbulence. Look for widespread moderate chop, especially for small aircraft below 5,000 feet on Alaska Island, Alaska Peninsula, and from Amchitka west to Shemya and Attu, and maybe Kamishak Bay.
It used to be that you could only warn one person about a tornado after it had already blown down someone else's barn.
Now, on average, we're able to issue a tornado warning 15 minutes before the tornado's even there, and that wouldn't be happening without Doppler radar.
This NexRad system has reduced fatalities on the order of 45% due to tornadoes since its advent.
We have a lot more information now about storms and being able to understand how they develop, how they produce severe weather, and how that information might be used to improve warnings for our National Weather Service partners.
The lab is unique in that we serve the nation by supporting the National Weather Service in its mission to protect lives and safe property by improving the accuracy and the lead time of severe weather warnings.
We have a legacy of radar research and converting existing technology from military to weather purposes.
A recycled Doppler radar led to the development of NexRad, installed nationwide in the early 90s. It allowed forecasters to see storms like never before.
Not only did we help bring that technology to the National Weather Service and to help protect lives and property, but we have continued to upgrade that technology, keep it relevant, and keep it state-of-the-art.
Recently, a major upgrade was added. Dual polarization technology takes the radar from 2D to 3D. Forecasters now know more about what type of precipitation is falling, which is very helpful during winter storms, as well as how much rain is accumulating, resulting in better flash flood warnings. The radar can also detect and track tornadoes based on debris. Looking to the future, the National Severe Storms Lab is testing the capabilities of phased array radar. Originally used by the U.S. Navy, the antenna scans the skies electronically rather than mechanically, allowing the radar to focus on a storm.
With current technology, we get a full picture or image of what is going on within a storm every 4 to 5 minutes. So it's more like a snapshot. Whereas with phased array radar, we get that picture of what's going on in the storm every minute. So it becomes more like watching a movie. So we can do adaptive, rapid scanning on the storms that matter most, being able to provide the information that's most relevant when and where it's happening.
Another advantage of phased array radar is its multifunction capability, providing weather and air traffic information simultaneously.
Number one, it is a system that promises to replace and expand upon the existing weather surveillance radars. Secondly, to replace aging air traffic surveillance radars. And number three, it offers a potential application to meet Department of Homeland Security and defense requirements for identifying and tracking non-cooperative aircraft. With the replacement of all these various radars with a single system, the American taxpayer could realize substantial savings in cost.
You have a lot fewer radars to maintain, and the electronic capability of this also reduces maintenance costs because you do not have moving parts.
Not too long ago, the ability to predict severe weather was thought to be impossible. During the past several decades, research conducted at the National Severe Storms Lab has developed life-saving tools like Doppler radar. We've progressed from no warning of threatening weather to about a 15-minute lead time, and current research promises to extend that much further.
Our knowledge of severe storms and how they behave, and our use and ability to use the Doppler radar technology is in a lot of cases a direct result of that close working relationship, that research to operations component that we get between the National Severe Storms Laboratory and a forecast office.
That history and understanding of how these data can be used by our users and doing the research to help advance the use of radar technology, really it's what we live for, it's in our lifeblood, it's in our history.
It's now easier than ever to be a part of weather research. We just launched the M-Ping app for both iPhone and Android users, and it's totally free. Ping, which stands for Precipitation Identification Near the Ground, is a research project by the NOAA National Severe Storms Lab and the University of Oklahoma. With the mobile app, you can send us your weather observations on the go. Are snowflakes falling on your head? Is hail hitting your car? Just select what type of precipitation is falling and press submit. It's that easy. It takes about 5 seconds and it's anonymous. Reports can then be viewed online. Our scientists will compare your report with what the radar has detected. This helps us develop new radar technologies and techniques. Download the app today, share your reports, and let's work together to make our nation weather ready. Learn more here and follow us.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at today's sea ice analysis. Again, not a lot of change from yesterday. Still ice kind of held up there around St. Matthew Island, extending southeastward to just south of Cape Newenham. Gusty winds kind of beating it back a little bit there, but still plenty of ice into Bristol Bay, northern Bristol Bay. And looks like more ice now south of the Forelands there in Cook, getting into southern Cook Inlet. Although really nothing on this chart in Kachemak Bay and very little in Kamishak Bay. Coastal water forecasts for starting out in the Panhandle. Gale force north winds to 45 knots still for Lynn Canal tomorrow, otherwise sustained 30 knots. Small craft advisories for Stevens Passage, north winds 25 knots, and Clarence Strait northerlies at 20 knots. South coast northwest winds, small craft advisories 25 to 30 knots, and north coast north at 20, falling back to about 15 knots out of the east there around Yakutat, and picking back up for the eastern North Gulf Coast at 25 knots out of the northwest. Outlook for Sunday, Lynn Canal, lighter winds north 20, seas 4 feet. Stevens Passage northeast at 20 with 4-foot seas, and Clarence Strait northwest 15, seas 3 feet. South coast, northwest breeze 15 knots, seas 9 to 10 feet. 20 knots out of the northwest for the north coast with 9-foot seas. Prince William Sound, small craft advisories tomorrow, northwest winds 25 knots, higher gusts, seas 6 feet. North Gulf Coast, northwest winds 30 knots, 10-foot seas, west winds 30 knots, Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay, 9 to 11-foot seas. Small craft advisories, southern Cook Inlet, west winds 25 knots and 6-foot seas, and light breeze out of the west for northern Cook Inlet at 10 knots. That'll become north at 15 for northern Cook Inlet on Sunday. Otherwise, southern Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, northerlies 20 knots, 5 to 6-foot seas, northwest 20 for the Barren Islands. And the western North Gulf Coast really laying down 10 knots out of the northwest, Prince William Sound back down to 15 from the northeast. And the eastern North Gulf Coast there, Middleton Island zone, north at 20 with seas at 7 feet. Small craft advisories through tomorrow for the east side of Kodiak Island, west winds 25 knots. Otherwise, full gales coming into the Alaska Peninsula, that next front, 40 knots out of the east. Bristol Bay, though, northeast at 20. And the outlook for Sunday, southeast winds, small craft advisory winds for the peninsula from the southeast at 30 knots, 9 to 14-foot seas. Small craft advisories, Bristol Bay, east winds 25 knots, 5-foot seas in the sea ice-free areas. And 15-knot winds for Kodiak Island, Castle Cape to Sitkinak, southeast at 20. And gale warnings, all of the Aleutians, starting out west, Kiska to Shimia, southeast 45 knots, Amchitka, south 35 knots, Adak and Atka, southeast winds 35 knots, Unmak Island, easterlies 35 to 40 knots, and Unalaska Island, east 45 knots sustained. And then those come down to northwest 25 to 30, so small craft advisories for Unalaska Island, otherwise Unmak Island, the Kulski area, west at 15. Laying down pretty good there. Small craft advisories, Adak and Atka, southwest at 30. And then 40-knot winds from the south from Amchitka to Shimian at 2. Easterlies 40 knots for the Pribilofs tomorrow. Gales also for St. Matthew Island out of the east at 35. And brisk wind advisories for the Yukon Delta coast, east winds 30 knots. And small craft advisories, Kuskokwim Delta coastline for east winds at 30 knots. And brisk wind advisory, St. Lawrence Island, west 25, turning southwest at 30 into Norton Sound. Those become northeast on Sunday, coming back up to 40 knots for St. Lawrence Island. And gale warnings for the southwest coast, east 35 knots, southeast 40 for the northern Bering Sea and St. Matthew Island. Pribilofs, though, behind the front, west at 20 at 11-foot seas. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, again, disturbances dropping southward, kind of keep the winds kicking up there at times out of the west to 25 knots for brisk wind advisories. Otherwise, the central coast north at 15, even lighter on the west side at 10 from the north, and then Cape Beaufort to Wales, north at 20. And north 20 knots from Wales to Cape Thompson to, say, Point Lay, brisk wind advisories northeast 25 knots, falling back to 15 knots for the central coast. And eastern coast, east central coast there north at 10, and then back to 20 knots there, Kaktovik demarcation point. And for tonight, again, one of those disturbances keeps a chance of light snow or flurries there going from the central coast eastward to the bay there. And low pressure slowly continues to weaken, but still an area of snow or snow showers, light snow or snow showers there associated with it, clearing out over the southwest interior with high pressure just southwest Kodiak Island. And snow showers for the southern panhandle areas, central and southern areas, colder, drier, windier up north, and that front out west.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.